Hi everyone, this is Kasha from Fineliner Tip, and today I'm going to review these markers for you that the people from WaloWalo sent to me. It's a box of 120 dual tips brush pens. On the website it also says that they're watercolor markers, and you're gonna have a brush tip on one end and a fine tip on the other, which is really interesting. I haven't seen any like these yet. Here are all of the colors that are inside. So let's open it. Oh, I don't know why, but the markers are not organized the same way that the numbers are. So let's do that first. Well, this took a lot longer than I expected, but it's done. The cool thing about this is the box is divided. I'm sure you saw it as I was organizing them. So each of these rows is a separate row. So I'm thinking in the future it would be easier to keep them organized than just in a box that you throw stuff in. As I was doing this, I've noticed that a lot of the markers don't match this. So let's see, this is 30. And this is 30, or this is 64, and this is 64. So in order to see what the colors really look like, I'm going to generate a little sheet where I'm going to test them. So here's the swatch sheet that I created. The numbers match the numbers on the box. And before I get going on it, I want to show you something real quick. This box can be folded like this, so that when you use the markers, you have them propped. The only comment I have about this is once you have done this, the numbers are upside down. With that being said, even though the numbers are upside down now, I still feel like they're going to be helpful, because you pull a marker out, and then when you want to put it back, number two, and you just slide it in. And once again, these dividers in here are helpful because the markers do not collapse. You get a really good variety of colors because you have 120 colors. The colors, the swatches match the caps of the markers better than they match these colors. So I wouldn't pay attention to this. I'm going to pay attention to this. And this is why you swatch. This is not a big deal. This is very typical. This is printed with the printer and not colored with these. So it will be different. It is different on a lot of the different tools I have seen, whether it be markers or paint. So let's put these to the test. I have pre-drawn a little picture in my watercolor sketchbook. It's a face because that's what I do the most, so I figured that will give me the best idea of how much I like these markers. I'm going to use them on a watercolor paper since this is watercolor sketchbook, so I'm going to also use a watercolor brush to dilute the colors. I'm actually very excited about the Fineliner tip because you get the same exact color as you get with the brush, but in a tiny 0.4 size, and I have never had this before with any other markers. So you'll see here that in the beginning I struggled quite a bit. I struggled for multiple reasons. One was the fact that the brush end of the marker is kind of stiff. It has a really good little point on the end, which is fantastic, but then it doesn't bend a lot, so it's hard to get more pigment going or like a thicker line. It just feels more like a marker than a brush. Also, the other thing was it was not blending with water very well. You can see it right here. also when I try to add a second color, the paper is starting to peel a little bit. So these feel a lot more like markers than they do like watercolor markers. With that being said, the Fineliner Tip is fantastic. Like I thought, you're getting the same exact color and just a tiny skinny marker, so you can do outlines or you can add little details. As you can see, so I was adding the colors slowly, I was blending them slowly because it just felt funny. Now the final effect's going to be great and you'll see that, but I was struggling. So with that being said, I feel like these would be a lot better for journaling, for little doodles. Because they're water-based marker, they will not bleed on the other side of your paper. You can use your same colors in the fine liner for your writings, for your notes, and I think that would be awesome. Now, as watercolor markers, they don't blend very well, and they were messing up my paper, so I didn't like that. Anyway, I started adding more colors, I started adding more details, and I was feeling like the picture is starting to look pretty good. And that's when the water, all of the water that I added, finally started catching up, and it started catching up to the pigment, and you'll see it here very soon that my whole picture is started to blending away. The eyes were dissolving, the nose was dissolving, so I just had to take a little break and let it dry. Once it's completely dried, I was adding a lot more detail. I didn't use any more water, and this really helped with control lines. So the bottom line is I love the liner. I wish a lot of other companies did that. It's a fantastic idea. It works really good. You can use these as watercolor markers. As you can see, I've done it and the effect was wonderful. However, I think these would be a lot better and perfect for journaling, for little sketches, for little doodles, and that's when you would really, really love them.